Now, let me take you to a related story, and Ghana needs to review all measures put in place to check the spread of COVID-19. That's the call from General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Yankson. His call follows concerns that the country is recording increasing cases daily, a situation that threatens all gains made in the fight against the pandemic so far. We will hear from Dr. Yankson, but first, here's JoyNews Raymond Acquah, and he has been recounting his excruciating experience with the disease. According to Raymond, he did not expect to survive. He spoke to my colleague Winston Amwa on the Super Morning Show.
So when I was told I had COVID, I asked my doctor, what should I do? He said, no, let's see what happens immediately. Stay with the treatment plan. As the time that he was talking to me, because I had taken the drugs, for the next 2 hours, it was an ordinary situation for me. I mean, I wasn't feeling super excited and all of that, but it was just okay. It was hours after that, when the situation started deteriorating, that I had to rush to the hospital.
We'll get to that.
Because, see, there's a thinking that, and me, I felt for my age, for somebody of my status, and maybe health status, the best COVID could do to me was keep me in bed for 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
So that is what I was bracing myself for. A repeat of those feverish conditions, regardless of how terrible it was supposed to be. The only extreme thought I had in mind was that, okay, I'll stay in bed for a couple of days. I mean, many people do, and they get better with time, and they get improved, and everything gets to work perfectly. But it wasn't that way. If I was not rushed to the hospital that night, when I was struggling to breathe, I'm so convinced that I'll not be alive today.
So, what happened when you got to the hospital, Raymond? I mean, were you able to breathe immediately? You were taken to the hospital?
No, not at all. In fact, immediately they had to put me on some machine to help me breathe, put me in a wheelchair, scale me around, find me a bed, asked me to wait for a while. Then I finally got a bed, and they transferred me into a better place for me to be able to lie down. That was painful. That was excruciating. It was the time I felt, if I cannot breathe at this time, I am almost gone. Indeed, it was almost like there's a small opportunity for you to breathe, but the air is not coming out into your lungs or coming out into your system. So you have pains all over your body, and yet you are struggling to breathe. Indeed, they brought a big tank, the oxygen tank, to replace the smaller one that they gave me previously. Even in that state, I was still convinced I'm struggling to breathe. I was still convinced my nostrils are being blocked every way. And even though I opened my mouth in a very wide way, there was no way I was getting air down my system. That was how terrible it is. Until they forced me to go and lie down, put all of those injections into my system, put the drips on me. And for the next 6 hours or so, it was a long routine. I opened my eyes, I was watching the process. I knew that there were so many injections going into my system. I knew that there were so many attempts to, do other things to me, turn me over, take blood samples, go to the laboratory. And I lied down there in so much pain, watching all of that episode go by. Now, it didn't get better. That's what actually shocked me, because when we got to the hospital, I had hope that, okay, well, I mean, things will improve immediately. From just having this, they call it nasal, there's a small thing they put in your nostrils. That's what they started with. In the days after that, I was not getting any better. So they had to bring in bigger, I don't know how they call it, but bigger tools for me to use in breathing.
Oh, okay.
I was in bed. I was lying down. I could not move any part of my body. It was pain all over, actually, to the point that it reached the point I couldn't feel their injections. I know they were giving me consistent injections. I mean, it was like a routine, but I couldn't feel them consistent. In fact, it was almost like a dead body lying down there, monitoring what was happening, in so much pain, only breathing. And the only thing that was happening was that I was breathing. And the breathing consistently was what kept me feeling that I was alive. Day after day, they decided to bring me bigger tools for me to help me in breathing. I knew I was not getting better because I could feel in my bones I was not getting better. There was this night, and that was a night I felt very sad. There was this night that when I was struggling to breathe and could not do anything about it, I was only listening to all the machines and monitors in the hospital or in the ward I was. I told myself, well, I doubt if I'll make it. Because it was not only the pain, it was the fact that if I try to breathe, like if you breathe in, it starts. Then I feel my diaphragm move up a little bit. And that was a very painful thing. I have never felt that having to just breathe in and out could be this painful. And yet I was still there, lying down. I couldn't complain. It was just tears that was coming down my cheeks. And all that I felt then all the time was that this is not going to get better. If for nothing at all, I may deteriorate until maybe I die in the process. But the excruciating pain at the time only got worse throughout the night, and I couldn't sleep too. There were days I had slept and didn't know what was happening. And those were the best days of my life within that period. It is when I opened my eyes and I felt what was really happening to me. That was when I really felt the extreme pain. Well, the rest, they say, might be a long story in history, but it has been a very torrid experience for me.
Raymond.
Now, Raymond's account paints a picture of the current situation and how real it is. Well, I hope that we are all advised and in keeping ourselves safe and making sure that we observe all the protocols. Please, COVID-19 is real. You're live on Joy News today. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you business. You're live on Joy News today. Before we go for business, let's hear from Dr. Justice Yankson of the Ghana Medical Association, who is calling for a second look at measures put in place, particularly enforcement of all protocols.
The country, we've gone to sleep and not paying much attention to COVID-19.
Listen, thank you very much. Let me start from the last bit of your questioning.
Sure.
I think that we should call a spade a spade. As a country, gradually, we are going to sleep as far as COVID-19 is concerned. The situation is that, one, enforcement is not happening at any levels whatsoever. By enforcement, I mean all the protocols that we have put in place. Let's be truthful to ourselves. Look at how, for example, the UK police are out there enforcing all the measures that have been put in place. And look at what is happening at our end. The president speaks to us. He's been so great. He tells us that, look, certain activities are still banned. And look at what happened throughout the festivities. And even during the political season. Has anybody been brought to book for any particular action? And do we see any enforcement whatsoever happening along the line? Some of our problems are self-inflicted. And if we don't take time, it is going to hurt us and hurt us so much. We were just discussing the issue of challenges or lapses within the whole protocol or the management processes that we have put down for COVID. You are talking about contact tracing and what have you, quality assurance and what have you. The truth is this. As we speak, it is also creating a problem for the clinical management or the management of patients. If you go to, say, a laboratory, your test results are not properly in the system. Such patients, most of them are just walking around without care, or they go home, they get some pharmacy to give them some medications, or they call a friend who may be a doctor or a nurse or whatever, they give them something, and then that's it. Nobody really follows up with such people. I can tell you that over the Christmas period till now, I have had calls from over 20 different families who have had COVID one way or the other. And some of them, you talk to them, the system has not even reached out to them to see whether, one, they are doing well or what is happening to them in the first place.
Okay.
And these are people, per the structure we are running, are supposed to be known to the system. They are doctors or healthcare professionals who will be mapped to these patients to oversee their care, even where they are receiving care at home, i.e. outside the care centers or the hospitals. And all these things are not happening. Sometimes some of the reports, when we hear them, it's a bit difficult for us to really say that this is the truth. But you can't also dispute it. People will tell you that, look, I know this person who has tested positive, but I saw him at the pub. You know, so we really need to take a critical look at what is happening to us. Issues of reported cases. Yes, we trust in the numbers being turned out, but by and large, we also believe that there are a lot of cases that are yet to be reported. And from what Dr. Ashedube said, it substantiates our thinking, i.e., the system is not able to pick up some results as turned out by some of the facilities. So clearly, if these reports have not gone into the system, clearly the numbers that are being reported, issues around the number of deaths, validation of the cases and all that, sometimes it takes longer than we think it should take. So when we see these numbers and sometimes we see what is happening in some of the facilities, COVID-related deaths, we are not too sure whether the figures are coming in today or are coming in tomorrow. I think that at this point, we need to have a complete review of all the processes that we have put in place.
Okay. Can you hold on for us?
At that point.
Yes. Can you